Go ahead, start talking.
Well, this is the wing we're working on. There's a ladder as the internal frame, and then we used just some angle brackets, 90-degree angle brackets, and screwed these on there. These are just plywood wings. They're about a quarter of an inch or so thick. And we cut out the rough shape, and then we kind of bolted them all together with bolts through these particular holes. Kind of sanded them all down and got them about as equally sized as possible. A lot better than the rough shape. Sanded them down, and then we attached them to the ladder. This is the bottom of the wing. This is the plywood sheet. And we're using that because we're going to skin this with either something called polyfiber or cotton and dope. And that'll kind of draw, it's a cloth that'll draw tight and kind of shrink down and become drum-like. But if we were to put that on the bottom, there's actually a curvature here, obviously, and it would kind of draw tight and go flat on the bottom. And we don't really want that. We want curvature, so we have to use this plywood to hold, because it'll hold the shape better than the polyfiber or cotton. And so we are going to glue this onto the underside of the ladder with some Gorilla Glue and kind of stick that there so it'll help hold shape, and then we're going to screw it and pour Gorilla Glue everywhere, but that's the first step.
So tell me again, the ladder, what's the ladder for?
This is an internal frame. Without that, the whole thing would just kind of go, and it wouldn't hold shape or...
So it'll stay there as part of the wing.
This is what, and we're going to also mount the device that allows us to steer and pivot the wing, so we can tack and do the likes of such.
Okay, Ed?
Okay.
Any input for that?
No, I think he explained what we're going to do next while you're videotaping, is we're going to do some gluing. But the Gorilla Glue instructions tell you to get the surfaces wet. So we've got a spray bottle, so we're going to spray the ladder and the wood are right next to the ladder. So why don't you go down the whole ladder and spray and spray.
Is the oil significant?
Well, the oil's significant because there's a table underneath the middle, and underneath the middle it is a books and so we need the oil to press down because we've got a 2x4 that's clamped all the way across underneath, but it wasn't holding it tight in the middle. So we have the table underneath to hold the middle of the 2x4 up, and then we're gonna, once we glue it, we're gonna push the top down with the weight of the oil jugs.
So my next question is can you get it out the door?
Yes, it does fit through the door.
Did you plan ahead for that?
We brought it in here this morning, and it still had all the ribs already attached. This morning we just added a few more screws to one more attachment point to the front. And now this is the gluing operation to glue the underskin, the plywood underskin to the ribs to get that inside curvature. As we did our wind tunnel testing and found that when we have that underside curvature, we get more lift than if we have a flat bottom wing.
Now you're referring to the wind tunnel testing that you demonstrated at our advisory board meeting. Okay.
Right. Our little foam wind tunnel that we made.
I don't want to dry that up, so...
Dry it?
Now I'm curious too, because most industrial glue instructions stress that your surface be dry.
I know, but this is Gorilla Glue.
And so how is it different than, why that glue and not other glue, like super glue or...
Well, you could use Elmer's type of glue when it's
Or
just
epoxy.
wood, or epoxy when it's wood to wood. But the fact that it's metal to wood, this particular glue happens to have the best adhesion to multiple different types of surfaces. And
That also has the
epoxy
advantage
could
of...
do it, but epoxy is a two-part, and you spend a lot of time mixing it, putting it down. Whereas this stuff, when it has that moisture, it causes it to have a foaming action, so it actually puffs up into
It expands.
a foam and expands, and so it will actually help us fill the gap. I mean, we're going to squeeze down on the gap with the oil jugs, but when we use the Gorilla Glue, it will actually, jump up
Is that all you said?
and expand, and therefore that expansion effect
Oh.
gives us more, not necessarily glue strength,
Oh.
but it'll help these, stay more rigid, because right now these are very flimsy little pieces of wood, and so we're trying to make this whole thing, in 3 dimensions. Once it's all 3-dimensional, it will be stronger than when it is the individual flimsy parts. So, it's part of the Gorilla Glue instructions, so that's what we're gonna do.
Alright. Learned something new today. I'm just impressed you're doing this in your living room.
Yeah, what would my mom have to say about this?
I don't know about your mom, but I know what I would say.
Get this out.
It's not even coming in.
We would do it while you were gone.
We
Be
do
sure-
vacuum at the end of our term.
Be sure you thank Mrs. Van Dyne for her patience holding.
I have to go outside and get a cut this bottle.